Oh, so this whole thing with this ridiculous staged, scripted sideshow with Trump is obviously all fake and absurd and staged, as anyone with even the most basic discernment should know. That's all staged. He's not going to be going to prison. There's not going to be any arrest. But to do some of these things, like, it's all film, it's all set up like a film set, as you probably know. So again, we see a group of 4 people just lingering here as I come by on the sidewalk. This is when, is this the place? I think it's the same place as I came the other time. Yeah, no, this time it's like 5 people there, all out there. And you can see, that looks, you can see the guy whispering and the other dudes. Yeah, those are the 3 goons that were there, yeah, the last time when I came by, that they had walking off. They just happened to be out there again today, standing there the whole time and then going over to the bus. It's always in like groups too, like you always see, like, so there's like 5 people there. Always they send groups of people to try and it's supposed to just, see, they get one guy whispering in the other guy's ear just as I go by. Well, just to like send a subtle message and things like that. Well, you can see where there's, look at this now. Let's just see how long this is going to, look at, staring at a phone, waiting. Let's see how long this takes. I mean, the moment I get here, you see this. The moment I get there. So, following instructions there. So, a lot of stuff going on today already. So, they have this circle of goons standing out there. Now, are they gone in, or are they still there? No, those are the same goons that they used the other day that I showed in the video. They were more at a distance, though, the other time. So, knowing that I was going out today and that I had filmed them, they had them, you can see it just standing there on the sidewalk. And then the one guy goes over and whispers in his boyfriend's ear when I arrived there. And again, they always do things like that, like have groups of people and like, so that the person just feels, you know what I mean, like outnumbered if you say anything to them about what they're doing or whatever, which I almost never do. So, so you see, again, you saw a car pulling out the moment I got to that place there again. They've got that set up there. You saw this tiny dwarf, this sitting outside in the driveway directly across from the window of my unit as soon as I left. You could see him there. I think I picked it up. I don't know for sure. I think I did. Because I didn't really look at him. I just came out and then I noticed that he was there out of the corner of my eye, so I'm not sure if I turned the glasses toward the little dwarf, but he was sitting there. He didn't do a fake cough when I came out, but that's basically what he does, is sit outside the window of my unit and make half grunting, half coughing noises. So you can see, just as I arrived at the intersection here, a paramedic set up here. Why would they actually be doing anything legitimate, right? I'm turning on the lights right now. Notice that? Now let's see when he turned. Okay, so he turned that. Now it's off. You notice that? He turned that off right. Okay, again. How many times have we seen that? Now, you look at that and you see 100% that they don't use the siren for the purpose that it was created for, right? He turned it on right there just as I arrived here. For like a matter of seconds there, and then turned it off immediately. The purpose of the siren is to clear the road so that they can get to emergencies. That guy's not going to an emergency, and they set up fake little acting skits again like that. So, see him going down there, still flashing the lights, but no siren now. So you can see him off in the distance there. Yeah, again, the reason they have that guy go outside too is they want me to say something to him. I'm not going to say anything to that guy at all. Or any of those people who live there. They know what they're doing, 100%. But I'm going to leave there anyway, so. Yeah, so the whole thing, the whole ridiculous stage sideshow with Donald Trump, this is ridiculous. It's all fake. If you've seen the one video I have up there, it shows how they have these fake courtrooms, which are actually set up as like courtrooms that you would use in a Hollywood movie, right? Where they would film trial scenes in Hollywood movies. And they use these sometimes to film these ridiculous fake trials. For example, the fake staged Alex Jones trial that they put up to make you think that he was charged with talking about Sandy Hook or whatever. That was just filmed in one of these fake mock trial courtrooms that they use for Hollywood movies. And the news, all of these mainstream news outlets, put that out there as if it was real, when it was filmed like a movie. And it was a movie. It was entirely scripted. Nothing happened to him. He didn't get any fine or anything like that. He didn't have any of his assets stripped. It's all lies. He's an actor. The fake arrest of Trump, there's going to be some fake trial. We already know that, some staged trial. And eventually, if all of the predictive programming comes to be, and these things that they've laid out in the Illuminati card game, there will be some staged fake assassination attempt against Trump as well at some point. They could do something where they fake his death or whatever, and then use that to kick off some sort of justification for some violence and things of that nature between these two fake sides that they have also created, using huge amounts of the population who they control. So it's all done through deceit. Literally everything going on with regards to what you're seeing in the media is literally like a Hollywood film right now. Deception strategy. They decided a long time ago that it was much more efficient to do these things through deceit rather than using brutal repression to just impose these things on people. Instead, why not get a bunch of people, pay them off, so that they'll go along with it without you won't have to deal with any major uprisings, essentially, right? Because you'll have already placated the people who would be your potential opponents. Those who may have disagreed with it, if you pay them off and also tell them, lie to them, deceive them, tell them that they're doing something good by participating in these things, then you can do this in a much more effective manner than using brutal violence, brutal oppression against the people, which they had used in the past. Obviously, they decided that those methods may have been somewhat outdated. Now, I'm not saying that that couldn't start to happen again potentially in the future, because usually anytime communism is imposed, there comes a point where they do use force, right? And they recognize that unfortunately is an effective means of keeping people in line, but also what they're doing right now is just utilizing these operations like the East German Stasi. Could be equally effective to some extent because of the technology that they have now. If you think of how effective it was in East Germany back then, it's tenfold now because of the technology that they have to literally trace everywhere everyone goes, right? The phones, things of that nature. Even if you don't take your phone, they can easily trace wherever you are and have these agents set up wherever a person is if they've been placed on one of these watch lists. So that technology is dangerous and frightening in many ways, because another thing that's very important to think about, that if you are someone who is on one of these watch lists, really, not an actor on YouTube, but a real person who is on one of these watch lists, something you really need to consider and be aware of as a real danger is the fact that they have this ability now. The reason they created this whole technology with deep fakes and with editing video in such a way, in such a realistic way, I believe, is to have the ability to frame people for crimes that they did not commit. And there's a lot of predictive programming about this that they've put out in Hollywood movies in the past. That ability to manipulate, coupled with the fact that we can clearly see, without any shadow of a doubt, at least in this country, that there are people who are grossly corrupt in positions of authority within law enforcement agencies and within basically all the public service agencies, who seem to be, who to me it seems would be fine with going along with something like that, with framing people who had done nothing wrong with crimes that they didn't commit. And that is a real danger that this type of thing poses. So there needs to be awareness spread that they can do this with these things, and that needs to be taken into account in the legal system. If we are to believe that the legal system is legitimate, there's a police car there. So we've seen an ambulance and a police car today already, as I just go up to the grocery store here. Yeah, that's a very important thing to be aware of. I believe they can definitely do that, and they may have already started doing it. I don't know for sure, because again, the media is going to cover that up if they are doing that, right? The media is complicit in these things. You have to understand that. The media, people in public services, the police, all these people who are supposed to serve the public, the fire department, are all unified under this, what you may refer to as a communist dictatorship. And that's what it is. This country is under a communist dictatorship. There's no exaggeration there. That is the truth. But it's being done in a way that is utilizing deceit, right now at least, rather than brutal repression. So it is all being done through deception. The likes of deception, the likes of which humanity has not seen before. I mean, the type of deception that is going on now is so extreme, and it's so consistent all the time. It's all lies, consistently, everything. Okay, so there's another paramedic now. You saw a police car, and you hear something fake going on up here. Are they going to pass by? Let's see. Again, I'm just walking to the grocery store here. Oh yeah, so it's a paramedic here. So that's the third ambulance since I left. Well, okay, one paramedic vehicle, another ambulance there, and one here. So the first one was just one of those paramedic vehicles. Now they're not dealing with an emergency here at all. They're just putting on the siren because now they've stopped it. You notice that? Why would they have turned it on there if they're going to something legitimate just for that moment? They just turned it on while they were there. Now it's off, right? Are they going to turn it on again? The siren is supposed to allow them to clear traffic. So they're, as always, they're misusing it. Okay, now turning it on again. And turning it off, right? You saw, now, okay. Again, clear proof there. They're misusing the siren. Why would you turn, he turns it on just for that moment over there, and again, as he's going to turn, he turns it on. Yet he waited at the lights. Why would he wait at the lights if he was going to an emergency, right? He would have gone right through. So fake, and a fake little stage show there. And they do that intentionally because I'll know what it is. So it's done to let the target know that it's all fake, right? And that they're not dealing with anything legitimate. They rarely do. So just more evidence there today of what types of people you have in those positions. You can see there, upon my arrival, more silly acting with the actors who pretend that they actually do legitimate work. The paramedics there, and then saw the wonderful police showing up just as I was arriving as well. So, continuing trend of every time I go up to this grocery store of wasting resources on sending those people to do those things. If you actually were an uncompromised person who didn't know these things were going on, you might look at that and say that it's absurd to do that. The people who would do that, would agree to do that, must have something wrong with them, right? Like, seriously, you have to be deranged to agree to do something like that. But yeah, if you were looking at that from an outside perspective, and you thought that, you genuinely thought those people do the jobs that that they're supposed to do, right? That those people actually spend all their time attending to legitimate things, and then you were met with this realization that, wait, they don't. You might start to think that them doing that is utterly absurd, and that the people who would agree to do that are severely deranged. Those people have some mental health issues. People who would just turn on a siren the moment a person arrives somewhere, knowing fully well that they're not using it for what it's supposed to be, that they're not attending to an emergency, and that they're misusing the siren and misrepresenting their jobs. A reasonable person who wasn't compromised and who wasn't a part of these activities, who didn't agree to take part in what is essentially sign on to agree to be a part of this communist state, this invisible communist dictatorship which is operating right now in this country, you would say that's ridiculous. To some people, they might say there's no way they do that. Well, I can assure you 100%. This is an important aspect because they are used to legitimize the operation. They are the ones who are used to deceive some members of the public into participating in these things. They see these people as being, you're supposed to trust them. They're supposed to be working to help the public, the police, paramedics, the fire department. Up until coming to the realization of what was happening to me, I trusted these people and I respected them highly. That's the truth. And I thought, you know what, they have difficult jobs and they do deal with a lot of tough situations, right? But then after these things start happening to you, I mean, you really come to a realization that at first it's difficult to really come to grips with that part of it. For me, I think that was one of the main parts that was most perplexing. Is that these people who for so long I trusted and I thought were, good, upstanding people would be involved in things like this. And yeah, like that was and I knew, again, another thing was how many people they have, because certainly at that time I thought, okay, there are a lot of corrupt people around who you could definitely enlist to do things like this, but you have no idea of the scope of it, how they can get people who you would not think would have anything to do with something like this to participate in it. It's enormous. The scope of this operation is enormous. And when you first wake up to it, of course it's traumatic at first. Because, like the first couple days or whatever, I think they're going to kill me, honestly. Because they really ramp it up when you first wake up to it. They were sending planes to fly over me all the time. They were having police follow me at my job. Sirens on all the time. Stalkers following me continually. Because my job at that time was to check on a bunch of buildings in a neighborhood, and so I was outside a lot. Anyway, but yeah, so when you first wake up to it, these are some of the things that are perplexing, because, for those of us who haven't signed on to take part in these things, we were living under the illusion that we actually had democracy, that these public servants were doing legitimate work. Well, the ugly truth is what you see in these videos I show. The folks who have signed on to partake in these things, there are a lot of them who know that the police and the fire department, these people are involved in deception events. Obviously, they know that because they partake in filming these staged events with them, right? They participate in these false flags, which our media, who I can't emphasize enough, are criminal organization. Our media, all of our media outlets, are involved in criminal deception, the likes of which humanity has not seen before at this time. Another guy pulling out right as I got, well, not right as I got there, but pretty close. Their role in it is important as well, extremely important, because first of all, they're the ones working in unison with these. It's all done, coordinated together. And that is exactly what would happen in a communist country, right? And deceit is used as one of their primary weapons. It's all about deceit. And our media are fully complicit in that. All of them, even these phonies with the so-called alternative media, are complicit in this deceit. Reality is there is no alternative media. So that's the thing, is it isn't just one aspect with regards to, certainly public servants are involved in it, we can see that, but the media plays a pivotal role. I would argue maybe the most important role in all of this, because firstly, they're the ones who are deceiving the public, and secondly, they're the ones who are covering up that these things are happening. They won't cover this at all. They won't cover the fact that these, what amounts to essentially crimes against humanity, are happening against people with this program. They won't cover it at all. And when they do, the very few times when you see them talking about any of this on TV, or the news rather, it's going to be to discredit. It's going to make it seem as if the person, they'll have an actor. They always just use actors. None of those people who they may show and present as being whatever, oh, this person says they're being targeted and it's all whatever. Obviously they'll continually use controlled language by saying things like conspiracy theorist. That is, again, a term that is continually used simply as a means of shutting up any conversation about truth. That's what it is exactly. That's what the point of it is. That's why the CIA coined that term, and they're using it all the time now. Anyone who can think and question anything will be labeled that term, right? Will be called conspiracy theorist. If you're able to think, if you point out things that are going on that are very questionable, any aspect that does not follow their scripted narrative, they will use that term. And that blanket term is supposed to just negate anything someone has to say, negate any facts they have, because these people operate solely against the truth. And they force you to, essentially, by using these stage scripted sideshows that they create, like this ridiculous Donald Trump sideshow, they want you to react to that, essentially. Same way the stalkers and people in this operation want you to, they use them to get people to react. In the mainstream media and getting any attention, they're controlled, 100%. Doesn't matter how good the things that they're saying seem to be, and everything that they present, including the trucker convoy, these ridiculous things like that, that are created to give you the illusion of democracy, that is done to make you think, to make those who have been deceived think that there are legitimate people standing up against this tyranny. The fact of the matter is that most of those people involved in that are all agents. And it was filmed the same way this ridiculous fake Donald Trump thing is going to be filmed, right? All done like a Hollywood movie. I witnessed some of these things with the trucker convoy. I know for a fact because I was working in downtown Toronto when it came through, and I saw a bit of it, and you could see clearly that a lot of the people who were there posing as protesters who agreed with the truckers were the same people who they use in the organized stalking operations. That's a fact. And I could clearly see that. I captured some footage of it. I do have it still on BitChute, but conveniently enough, the video now just doesn't play. And I've emailed them about it multiple times. They said, oh, we'll fix it. But when you press play, it just mysteriously won't play. So, anyway. Because that was an important psyop for them. And you could see when they started doing that, they had all of their shills out, even the ones who were supposed to be these, you know, the truther people, the 153 News shill. That's a shill website, 100%, first of all. Those people, they had them mostly pushing it, 90% of them pushing it as being real. And that's also a honeypot operation, that website, just so you know. Now they've got people like Hugo Talks on there, all the usual shows, that Russ Brown guy, who they had repeating things that I was saying the day after I had a personal conversation with this guy, friend of mine, about the movie, what was it called? Contagion. I was talking about the movie Contagion. The day after, I was following that guy, subscribed to that guy Russ Brown, who's kind of mixes in some truth with some disinfo. And he comes out and starts talking about exactly what I was talking about the day after. So they're all frauds, they're all shills. And here's the truth. This is the truth that people like Hugo Talks and these so-called, even the ones who pose as legitimate truthers won't tell you. Hugo Talks won't go near this. The fact of the matter is that huge amounts of the population in all major cities are controlled and are working as operatives. These are the same people who they use in these false flag hoax events, and they're literally using actors in some cases. Hugo Talks is not going to go near that, because then people would then make the correlation that these are the same people who they use in the organized stalking campaigns, and there are tons of them, huge percentages of the populations, certainly in major cities all throughout the world. And it is essentially a global communist takeover. Not to echo the title of a certain character, his channel, but that's what it is. That's the truth. It is. It's already done. It's not a matter of it's going to happen. It's already done. So you need to know, like, important for people who don't know about this, there's not going to be any type of uprising against this to the point where, because the percentage of people that they have is far too large. Now there may be legitimate situations where people get away from it, right? That could happen, where they form real groups who kind of get away from it, try and live independent of it. That'll be difficult though, because they're going to set up so many ways to stop that from happening. But realistically, it's not going to be overthrown. You need to understand that. These things like the trucker convoy and all this are put out to give people the false impression that there's going to be some big turnaround. And what did they show you? What did they show you from that? They took all these actors, their own people, their own agents, and then told you that they went to prison. None of them went to prison, just so you know. That was all staged. The media lied about all of that. But they told you that they went to prison, so that's what they want to show you. People who uprise against this stuff, who disagree with it, who speak out against it, who want to protest it, they use their own agents all the time to show you the results of what will happen. And that's what they did there. And it was entirely staged. Even all the symbolism they have with it, with the Illuminati symbolism and the 666s with the trucker convoy. All of it. Now, I don't doubt that there may be some small percentage of people who were duped into, who really are against this stuff, who were duped into thinking it was real and went to support it. There's a good probability that they could be watching those people, and that some of them could even be put on watch lists, as I have been. I hope not, right? I don't want that for anyone, but that's the reality. So it is what it is, right? This is the situation we're in. You can hold on for some type of false hope that you're going to have this big uprising, but you can't have that when they control such a massive amounts of people. You can't have that type of uprising. That would be enough to at least demand change, right? And I don't mean physical force. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about protesting to demand real change. You can't do it when the people who are the protesters are their own people. And that's over 80% of them are. So it's been set up so, it's been so methodically planned, this whole thing. And it's not like, is it going to happen? It's happening right now. It's already underway. So again, I'm not meaning to sound pessimistic, but you also have to be realistic, right? You have to be realistic. There are still positive things that can be done. And you have to understand that this is in God's hands too. And that at the end of it, His will prevail no matter what these people do. Doesn't matter. And again, this life is temporary, right? Yeah, so you have to understand that. And I know there's a lot of people who probably watch the things that I put out. What they do is, again, a guy sent me an interesting email, and I agree with him. I was just reading it today. He says that they actually give these agents access to your videos, so they know, and to the things that you're watching, right? So that they can then attempt to manipulate based upon things that you're watching. So if we know that this many members of the population are controlled, if we can establish that, which I think we can, very clearly, is it not then reasonable to draw the conclusion that the vast majority of the people posting videos on these websites are also those same people who are agents, who are controlled? Of course. And who are using deceit, right? Naturally, that's the conclusion that you have to draw. And you have to be careful with trusting any of those people. Certainly, watch some of their material, and because they do mix in some truth, right? But with regards to trusting any of them, be very cautious. I mean trusting any of them in terms of believing that they're fully legit. Because what we're seeing right now is literally directly out of Orwell's 1984. Literally everyone Winston comes into contact with. Here's another end. So this is so 3 ambulances, a police car, and a paramedic vehicle, paramedic car. If you think this is coincidental, you're a little bit slow. So here we go again, another ambulance on the side street area here where I live. See if I can get a face. He's turning his face. Look at him, turning his face, turning his face. Yeah, I got him. Good. Hopefully I got footage of him. It's good for the thumbnail. Anyway, so yeah, that's the truth. And that's the truth that people like Hugo Talks, who want to present this illusion that there's still hope for some really big uprising, won't tell you, because he's an agent and he works for them. He doesn't want you to know how bad the situation is. But he gives you a lot of good truth. Again, he's articulate. He's exactly the type of person they want to find. Here we go. Look at this now. Yeah, so that's the thing is, those people will not tell you real truth because they're not actual truthers. All of the people posing as, who have large followings, posing as truthers are frauds, 100%. And especially if they're asking you for money, 100%. Because you got to understand, these people are sociopaths with no conscience, and they think it's funny that they can deceive people into thinking that they are the opposite of who they really are, right? And some of them are very convincing. They've studied the mentality of the people who they are emulating. So Hugo Talks has studied the mentality of these people who would be like Christians who would be for truth in these situations. He also shows a lot of occult symbolism I've seen in his videos as well, and shows that bear symbolism. You don't even want to know what that represents. Maybe you already know. But he just randomly films bears sometimes at the end of his videos. For no, well, there is a reason to it. Anyway, so he won't tell you the truth, the real truth. That is that we're living under a communist dictatorship worldwide, and they have huge percentages of the population. You can just see by how many people are willing to do these activities and how precise the instructions are and how they follow instructions to a T. Those are things that people who are almost slaves with, people who are afraid of repercussions if they don't perform well, right? So there's something underlying there that they want to make sure they do their jobs well, or else there could be repercussions, right? And that tells you right there. He's not going to tell you anything like that. He's not going to tell you how it ties in with the organized stalking operation. That is... So this is it right here. Oh, some good timing there. Notice he came out the moment I got here. See that? He came outside like the moment I arrived. Hoping I'll say something to him.